months we have been Assalamu alaikum, welcome. Thank you so much. Today your trainer is Dr. Bill Williams, my good friend for last 10 years, plus 10 years. We live in the same city and now we walk almost every day whenever the weather permitted, because we did not walk today. And for hour to 2 hours, he is always something to new thing and new thing and new thing. And finally I say, you know what, Bill, you're trying to teach this idiot and you have no idea how many people are who want to learn from your proven skills. He is not only a dentist, the #1 dentist in Georgia. He trained dentists all over the world in medical profession. He loved giving back and empowering others. And of course, that brings the opportunity. There's so many topics we can learn from each other. The most important topic for our people, like a Pakistani people, is the time management. How do you manage time? He runs like a human machine. He will always be on time and anytime and never missed a minute. Okay, I'm late most of the time. I'm just sharing with you. He is not for even for a minute. How he does it? He will share with you how you can apply even a 1% of it, what he is going to share with you. Your life will improve. Focus 100%. And Dr. Bill, thank you for your friendship. I really appreciate the opportunity to sharing this message to all of them. Take it away.
Thank you, Siddique. And you go back to work. We need you to do your job. We're going to do our job. We're going to have fun together. I'm going to work with your team, and perhaps we'll end up as smart as you when we're done.
Yeah. Enjoy, have fun.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and start something here. You have to get up under that black line there. Once we can get up there.
Will you have to go to there is an auto save and there is a column to play. Come down. Come down.
How's that? Does that look good to you? Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
All right, I think we're in good shape. Let me put this here. All right, so yeah, Unstoppable Managers, that's what you guys are. You're working with us in our global effort to bring people strongly into the cash flow and wealth creation machine. So I appreciate all of you for putting out a lot of effort. There's a lot of promise on the other end of this effort. So I'm looking forward to the results we're all going to get together. So one of the things that I've been able to do is become one of the superstars in On Passive. We have a whole group of leadership council members who are in the middle of pre-launch right now for On Passive. And because of that, there's a great push right now to bring new members in. And so that's the effort you guys are a part of. So what we're doing is we are working with the master of LinkedIn, of course, our famous leader, Siddique, Mohammed Siddique. And the thing is, he says that we are unstoppable because we're a beacon of hope to the world. Now, Siddique has been doing good works for years and years and years, and I've been doing good works for years. And so we decided to combine our work talents and connect with others who are doing the same thing, who want to give back to the world. So question that all of us want to ask is, what can we do to move forward? What can we do to help the world, help our communities, help our countries, our fellow man, our families? So we want to answer all that. And so it's about taking action. And one of the first things you have to do to take action is you have to understand time. What is it? How much of it we have? How is it viewed? So kind of think about it this way. Time is a commodity. Everybody has the same amount of time, 24 hours a day, but it's something that is available to every single person in the world the same amount. Some people do more with the time than others. And so we want to identify some things that will help people do more with the time they have to get better results. Time is viewed by the Swiss as something very precise, very expensive. You know what a Rolex watch costs? It's very expensive. People wear that watch on their wrist. But over in Japan, they developed something called Timex. It was very inexpensive. It was an electronic movement instead of a gear system. So it was easy, cheap, and quick to make. And it was technologically more advanced than what was made in Switzerland, but it was inexpensive. So they viewed time in a different way. In America, they came down to the point of Steve Jobs said time could be worn on your wrist and it could become your computer. And that became the Apple Watch. And so that's very elegant. That's very sophisticated in terms of its capabilities, more than just a simple tool. And it was very complicated, but it was very capable at the same time. So those things about time show you that there's a different emphasis on how people look at time and how time is measured and the cost of time. So time can cost different things in different lights. And so we want to look at things from different lights. Like in America, a lot of people around the world look at America as something different or special. And one reason is because we're a melting pot. We were built from the outside in. All the best people in the world came to America and started a new country just 200 and something years ago. And when they did that, they brought all the best ideas and they were free to create. And it was like the freedom that we have, that we are all created equal, became the rallying cry. People came from all over the world. So we were created from outside in. Now, the opposite, older civilizations that have been around for longer, like China and India, those were created inside out. They have just as diverse a cultures inside their countries, just as Pakistan probably has many cultures within the borders of the boundaries of Pakistan. So all these countries are more outside, inside out as far as the ideas going in. So that's just a way to look at things. John Lennon said that everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay now, it must not be the end. And that's the way we look at things that we are involved in. This Unstoppable program that we're working on right now, we just started it. It's about a week and a half old, and it's got a lot of rocky, unsettled places in it because we're just experimenting with what works in each of these areas. And so we've already changed and evolved it quite a bit. So what we know is that we're not at the end because it's not okay. Everything is not totally smooth. We're in a continual process of smoothing and taking the wrinkles out. And so part of that has to do with time, people showing up on time, people knowing where to go. So I thought I would use an analogy here of client and time management. And this will help you a lot if you start looking at things from this perspective, as the restaurant perspective. So if you see a restaurant, you think about food, right? Well, I want you to think about some other things other than food. What about the person who is the gatekeeper? The person you must pass through to get to your table. Well, he has in his job description is to maintain order and not let too many people come in. What he has to do is to be the friendly face of the company. The restaurant is a company. The friendly face has to smile when he sees new customers come to the door or old customers who've been around for a long time. They have to still smile. And then more importantly, they have to remember who the older customers were and give them preference. So there's a lot to do. And if you make a reservation to show up at a restaurant, we're talking about a fine restaurant where you must make a reservation, then you have to show up on time or you lose your seat. And so the people coming in, the diners, they know they have to show up on time or they'll lose your seat. There's a grace period maybe of a few minutes, but sometimes you would lose your seat if you didn't come on time. The maitre d' is in charge of the clock. He's in charge of the schedule. And if you come late, it's a problem. if you call and want to be seated, but there's no seats, you don't get in. So that's something you have to think about. Now, the waiters, once you take a seat, then they come and there are expectations. The waiters come and want to take your order in order. You know, they want to take your drink order. They want to take your starter order. Then they want to take your main order. And then they want you to have dessert. And then they want you to get up and go so that you can empty the table. They don't want you to sit around for 3 hours. They want you to empty that table so they can have another setting, right? But they're not going to tell you that. They want you to pay your bill and go so they can turn the table over. I'll tell you that. So they do want turnover. Now, the waiter has his expectations of you. You have your expectations of the waiter. So what if the expectations did not meet? What if the waiters came to the table and you weren't looking at your menu, so you weren't ready to order? How long would you wait before you ordered? You know, that depends on the restaurant. What if you sat down and the waiters never came to your table? They never came to take your order. Would that upset you? So we're thinking about, oh, these people have a job to do. They want to serve me, but there are some expectations that have precedence in society, that people start on time and people move through the process. And so waiters kind of have an expectation of us. We certainly have an expectation of waiters. Now, what about the chef? The chef we don't see. The chef is working behind the scenes, but he's making things for us. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that we are not aware of, but they have to happen on time. They have to be done just right. I think of this food situation, this restaurant situation, as an analogy to creating a software program that has a flow where things have to go through it in a systematic way. And I think about all the processes that have to be put together to make a funnel for sales. And the chef's part is the most critical part in a restaurant. And the most critical part in Unstoppable might be the connection of the person trying to gain an on-passive group, the connection they have to the Unstoppable manager so they can get training. So there is a certain spot in every business that is like one thing that must happen. And in a restaurant, the chef must cook the food. In Unstoppable managers, the manager must train the student, the people in on-passive, how to work that LinkedIn. So there's places we have to get to. What if the chef doesn't read the order correctly and puts a hamburger on somebody's plate that ordered steak, filet mignon? That's not going to work very well. What if the chef cooked it too much and got well done and the person ordered medium rare? They would not like their food. So everything has to be precise. And so it's expectations being met is the key. Now, if you and your client sit down at the table, what's the one thing you want to happen? You want that restaurant to serve you in sort of an anonymous way where they're not the star of the situation. They are the backup service, but not interfering with the business meeting that's happening at the table. So if you had something going on that caused the restaurant to be a disservice rather than a service, if the waiter spilled water on the client, if the waiter forgot to order half of the food and only brought one half of the food out, that would be a disaster for that client, for that person bringing that other member to the table for a business meeting. So the enjoyment goes down. So expectations, people in the background often play a bigger role than they expect. Tolstoy said, there's no greatness where there's no simplicity, no goodness, no truth. So what we're looking for, and this is the evolution of unstoppable, is we want to get to simplicity. We want to get to the most simple solution to get the best result. And so as we've evolved over a week and a half, we've cut out some things, added some things, trying to find what's simple for the people that we're serving. And so you'll notice that we dropped out of Facebook because it was basically not producing any results. And that we have dropped out of doing some tagging for some people because they couldn't grasp the concept. So there's a lot of people in this group, in the founder group, who really don't have a grasp on technology to operate in social media that well. So that would be sort of like hiring a chef that didn't know much about food. You just don't want to do that. Unstoppable Managers is going to be benefited greatly by considering time management. And if you're an independent contractor, and if you're in charge of your own time and you're looking to better your life, it's important that you set your goals and your priorities. And if you do the things that are necessary to define the time limits you have to work. And Siddique just told me a lot about how you guys work with him, and that you definitely have autonomy, that you can set your time, you can work at peak efficiency for a certain number of hours, and that you have time to organize the resources at your fingertips. He's a master of delegating work. I've seen that he has a masterful technique of gathering help from around the world, mostly in Pakistan. And it really does impress me what he's doing with his business and what you guys do as a whole. He's reducing the redundancies that people just waste time in most places by putting it all together. And one of the things that he does that I'm impressed with is he cuts out the BS, his basic stories that people want to tell him how they're doing or say hello. When he's in a business meeting, he dispenses with all the frivolity, and he puts out the instructions to stick to business, stick to the knitting. So that's impressive. And he gets business done in a quick manner. He's all about avoiding stress and pre-planning tasks so that they all work well. So these things, if they're done, are going to be excellent for time management. And you're already well trained in a lot of this, I know, because you work for Siddique and work with Siddique. The time wasters are things that we want to consider. And every time there's a problem, there's a solution. And we work as an opportunity when we see something that's not working. So if we look around, we can notice that casual office conversations can take away from the business work. And so he says, let's don't greet each other 1,600 times a day. Let's just get on with business. He says he doesn't want to micromanage every employee. He wants managers to take responsibility and employees to take responsibility to do the work that's set before them. And he has activities divided out like social media. He's got things that work for you because you're an expert in that area. So the inability to refuse others, even when it means adding to your workload, you need to learn to say no when things don't fit into the system, into the program, and eliminate the numerous personal calls and texts and emails that are needless. There's a lot of streamlining that we can do. Numerous personal calls, texts, and emails can get rid of half of the wasted time if we just tell people in advance. You don't have to answer every email with "I got it." You just need to have a system that eliminates twice as many calls, twice as many texts. If conflicts come up in priorities, then the priorities are wrong. So we need to figure out, what is the main priority when we're dealing with things. If there's too many meetings or too prolonged meetings, or go down too many rabbit trails far from the focus, then we get in trouble. And so we want to stay on track. Procrastination is just, of course, waiting and waiting before we decide to do something. Putting it off till later never works. So today is the only day we have. So those time master things are really important. We can master time, we can master life. So here's just a list of 15 things that can be done to stay on track. We get back to the basics. A lot of times we just get too far out doing things we think are important, but the basics are what's really important. Do the hardest things first, those that make the most results. Minimize our distractions. You could even look at distractions as being, I've seen it where the color of the walls in your room could be a distraction, because certain colors are calming and some are irritating to some people. You could have, a TV in your room that's turned on to the news, and that'll irritate everybody, right? Manage your inbox. Don't answer everything that comes in just because it came in. Do not respond to people that don't need to be responded to. Practice self-control. Waste no opportunity. Set your own deadlines. Cut yourself off. How many of us talk too much? How many of us go on and like to tell stories that are really not necessary? Prioritize. I think sometimes related to cut yourself off, you have to cut other people off when they go on to these long tirades or these long stories that really don't matter. We need to tactfully know how to cut people off from long stories. Watch your Z's. If you don't get enough sleep, you won't be effective. You will not be functional. You'll actually have mental deterioration if you don't sleep enough hours. So you need to have sleep so you can catch the worm. That means the early bird catches the worm. The first ones up usually are the ones who are the sharpest. And I thought I was getting up early when I got up at 5:30, and then Siddique tells me he's up at 3 o'clock. Yeah, he's the early bird. He catches that worm because he's dealing with people in Pakistan on their time zones. So he meets their time zones, and that's an early bird. That means he's got to go to bed earlier too. So when I keep him up till 12 o'clock midnight here, he's not a happy camper the next day. So I'm learning to respect his needs to sleep. And so I don't try to talk to him after 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I usually stay up till midnight my time. So it's just a matter of importance that you get your sleep. I'm saying the calendar is very important. Everybody knows that. This is not a secret. Plan for the unplanned. Have a contingency when things don't work. What can we do to have a backup? And then ask for help. If we ask for help when we need it, that's the biggest source of advancement. Whenever you don't know something, you stop. Don't just make things up. Just stop and then ask for help. So those things are important. Now, if you and your clients want to set the table for success and you want to have the perfect dinner, then you have everything planned out in advance and you know what you're going to do before it starts. You don't just happen to show up for dinner and expect a dinner to be on the table. There's a lot of planning that goes into it for you to show up and have that perfect dinner. And for us to have a perfect, unstoppable result, we need to plan it out and have the whole thing flow. So that's what we're working on, trying to figure out, because the price of greatness is responsibility. We have to be responsible for our actions and for our results. We want to be great. And so the most powerful weapon in the universe is Green Lantern's ring. Green Lantern's ring is symbolic of creating things with your mind, because in the comic books, Green Lantern could think of something and create it. He could create something in his mind, and it would be like the weapon of choice to fight his enemies. And so the weapon of choice is our mind. We can create whatever it is to be successful, and we will overcome any obstacle. So those are my words I wanted to share with you guys. And now I would say that if that stimulates your mind, if that gives you some thoughts about things you would like to talk about, we're in good shape because we've got another 30 minutes. So I'm open for comments first and then questions. We've got 97 people on here. That's a fantastic turnout. So compliments to your team for opening your minds and looking at time and maybe what you might think is a little different way.
So you're going to open for the question answers now? Are you open for that, Dr. Bill?
What's that?
They are typing their questions here in a chat box now.
Yes. Should I look at the questions in the chat box?
You can check that. Otherwise, I have a sheet as well.
I'll start going through them and answering some questions if you'd like.
Question is from Riaz Ahmed. Minding more quickly, but sometimes body did not support to fulfill the task. Maybe body needs rest, but mind works more. How to manage mind and body together to save time?
How do you manage mind and body together at the same time? I think if you start out with exercise and you get plenty of sleep and you have a good diet, there's certain things that are going to work better for your mind. I know the main thing that makes me work efficiently is to do the hard things I need to do when I first wake up. The first 4 or 5 hours of the day, I'm the best. So I've not been an exercise person all my life. I'm 71 years old. And I'm not proud of that, but I've always been a morning person. I work the hardest in the morning. I get things done. And recently, Siddique and I have been doing more exercises in the morning. And he says to me, he says, you know, if I don't exercise every day, particularly in the morning, I'm not sharp as I could be. And so I've started exercising, walking with him, and we find we do have more energy. We do have a sharper thought process. So I would say those are the two things I would do: is get your exercise early in the morning, go to work, and be sure you have enough good intake of not too high calorie protein. A lot of high protein is better for you than carbohydrates, because if you have too many carbohydrates, you get sluggish. Next question.
How to overcome laziness?
How do you overcome laziness? I think lazy is built into people's DNA. And if you've got lazy in your DNA, you have to almost slap yourself, you know, like wake up, come out of this state of lazy. I think results are one of the biggest cures for laziness. If you see results and you're getting results in terms of recognition or payment, or somebody's observing the success you're having and you're having celebrations, laziness can go away, because, you know, laziness is a lack of endorphins, for one thing. Endorphins is like the chemical in your body that gives you highs. Runner's high, you've heard of that from running. Endorphins. Eating chocolate gives you kind of a high, because chocolate has things in it that make you feel good. Girls like chocolate, guys like chocolate, everybody likes chocolate. And so having chocolate is part of keeping a high level. Some people drink coffee or caffeine, or some people drink tea, you know, stimulants. So there are foods that make you feel better. Lazy itself, I think, is basically a word for not having goals, not having dreams. So you probably have to spend a little time on building up your own wish list if you're going to get out of lazy. Okay.
Next question is, what do you do when you are at the point of no return, or you have nothing or no one there to help you?
Everybody needs a buddy. Everybody needs somebody they can turn to. If you're at no return, it's a very dark place. So you need to seek out a buddy right away, and you need somebody you can talk to. I was at a place of no return one time where I was down because my teaching group that I put together for 10 years was breaking apart. And, you know, I got over it when I talked to a psychiatrist who was part of the staff of one of our consultant groups, and they just had him on staff. And the leader of the group said, yeah, if you're having struggles with this team breakup, you need to go talk to a professional. And so in just a few minutes, I spoke to him, and he said, here's one thing you can do. Write your friends that you're having trouble with a letter. You don't have to mail it. You just need to write it. So if you're at a point of no return and you've got some stresses between other people, especially, you just need to write them a letter, because you got to get it out of your head and get it on paper. And then that piece of paper, a lot of times you don't have to deliver it to them. A lot of times you just burn it, because when you get rid of the thoughts out of your head, then you can burn them and they'll be less stressful for you. So that's pretty much my answer to the point of no return. You got to find a friend to talk to and tell other people about what's going on.
Next question is, I have a habit to ignore things. How to solve this issue?
I didn't understand that. Tell me that one again.
Someone have a habit to ignore things. How to overcome this habit? He's ignorant, actually. He wants to be the more responsible one.
There's a friend who's ignoring that person and they want to be more responsible?
Yes. How to overcome that habit of ignoring things?
I don't understand that question. Ask it in a different way.
Okay. There, retype your question. Could you please elaborate on how to cut the distractions and reduce laziness and be consistent with the work efforts?
Is that written here somewhere?
Yes, it is.
Let me.
It's at
Who's it by?
in a chat box.
I'm looking at them. Which one is it?
Okay, fine. I'm gonna type it. I'm just gonna paste it down there. You can see in the end.
At the bottom.
At the bottom.
Elaborate on how to cut the distractions and reduce procrastination to be consistent with work efforts. Is that it?
Yes, it is.
Well, distractions can easily be eliminated because they're a choice. If you have a study environment, we call it. In other words, if you put yourself in the middle of a family of small children and they're always around, the dog's barking, those are distractions. You just have to get to a room, a place that's your own place. And you have to turn off the TV, turn off the social media, put away the iPhone. So getting rid of the distractions is a personal choice. You have to set up a room that's ideal for your work space. Procrastination, well, it comes back to goals. If you don't have goals and things you want to achieve, you've got to accomplish a certain amount of work in a certain amount of time, right? And so there needs to be a reward for the effort you put out. I'm a dentist and I have to produce handiwork. Every time I go into a room, I have a patient in there and I can either talk to that patient or I can work on that patient. And so I can choose to be slow or I can choose to be fast. I can choose to get it done or I can choose to take my time and not get a lot done. So I can tell you this, I get twice as much done per hour than most dentists. Sometimes I get 3 or 4 times more done per hour than most dentists. And it's all because I make a choice to be efficient. I wrote a book called $10,000 a Day Dentist because what I realized is I teach dentists how to be more efficient, more effective, better dentist. Not just about making money, but about being able to serve more people per day. And so I don't procrastinate. I look at every second as a valuable commodity. And I look to produce the most in a second that I can. And so instead of taking an hour to do a crown prep, which some dentists will take, it takes me 5 minutes. And then I have an efficient system to where I can delegate it from that point to my dental assistant to do the next 2 or 3 steps. And so my time total in that room might be 10 minutes instead of an hour. So it's a lot about delegation and it's a lot about efficient systems that we set up. We call them patient care systems, where everything is there before I need it. I don't have to wait for somebody to go get it. So those kind of fit in with that same question about procrastination means you didn't think about your job before you started it. You know, you really need to be in the mode of working on a particular project 100% of the time that you're on the job. So procrastination can be to start a job, or it could be between segments of a job. You know, if you're working with a client and you're not ready, then you got to go find stuff while you're in the middle of the interview. Maybe that's a waste of time. That would be a type of procrastination that you could prevent by being prepared in advance. Okay, I hope I answered that one.
Okay, Bill, I'm going to share my screen and there are the questions right in front of you.
Hey,
That will be easy to answer from here.
That's a great idea. Good job. How to develop habits to help people grow as an individual. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Individuals or People by Stephen Covey is a great book, and I would recommend that to develop habits. There's another book called Habits, just plain old Habits. It's a book that's got a yellow cover that I have. I don't remember who wrote it, but I would read those 2 books, the one called Habits and one 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. How do you get clients being owner of a digital marketing? What's that mean? Do you have a automated system or tool to bring clients? Unstoppable Project is making money without selling. How? The Unstoppable Project is the first step in a multi-step process. The Unstoppable Project is going to lead people to a huge money-making opportunity. And so we give away something in the beginning because we know what's coming in the end. Yeah, we wouldn't even start doing something for free without knowing that there might be something in the future when we're talking about business. Now, if we're talking about charity, that's a whole different thing. This is not a charity, this is a business. And so we're not looking to do things at no cost forever. We're looking at leading people to want to be involved with us in the future that's going to have highly profitable things. How to minimize distraction if someone can't concentrate or is not a good listener. How do you overcome this problem? Well, you know, people that don't listen don't keep their jobs. And that's pretty straightforward. If you're not going to listen and you're not going to concentrate on what the important person speaking has to say, you won't be around long in a business. So I think it would be important to understand that you need to focus on listening first, because without listening, you can never move forward with anything. We have social responsibilities and business responsibilities. It's on social.
As unexpected, then how we manage time? Mostly socials are unexpected.
There are unexpected things that come up, and so it creates a time management issue. And yeah, you've got to have expectations on both sides of an equation. The boss and the employee, for instance, they have to have a contract, a mutual contract as what's going to be expected from the job, and it goes both ways. If you're in a independent contractor situation and you make an agreement, then you need to make the agreements understanding that you're going to fulfill the agreements. And you know, we say do it no matter what, but there are emergencies that come up in our lives where we have to do things. And like I've got to go take my sister, my daughter-in-law somewhere at 2 o'clock. And I agreed to do it. And I said, I'll do it, but it depends on what my schedule is. I wouldn't do it at 1 o'clock because I'm going to be with you, but I expect to do it at 2 o'clock when I'm finished. So we all have things we have to agree to. And so we need to keep that calendar pretty rigid and not overcommit. How do you overcome procrastination? Just do it. Just decide. You know, one of the things about procrastination comes from fear of success, fear of not being able to succeed, fear of man, they call it. Fear of man is where you fear what other people think of you. So you won't start something because you fear what they'll say. Rejection, primarily. So procrastination often is just a fear-based reaction over what others will think. Of being turned down. You know, if you're afraid of sales, you're gonna never be a good salesman. If you're afraid of hearing no, if you can't take no, if you can't take rejection, you can't be a salesman. And that would lead you to do something other than sales. So procrastination, to do something that is related to talking to people and you're not comfortable talking to people, that would be fear-based. So we just basically have to take a stance of becoming a master of our own fear. One thing about procrastination that can help you is to have 5 seconds of boldness. Write that down, 5 seconds of boldness. You can do anything if you only have to do it for 5 seconds. If I have to give a shot to somebody and they're afraid of the needle, I just say, if you could just do this for 5 seconds, it'll be done. I'll say, if you can just do one thing for just a few seconds, it's done. And so that 5 seconds of boldness could be bearing up a pain that really mentally is painful for you to speak to somebody. But if you can do it, when we're teaching somebody to sell and we say, it's hard to tell somebody that's going to cost $10,000. But if you can just have 5 seconds of boldness and just come right out and say, and the cost of that's going to be $10,000. That 5 seconds of boldness said with conviction will get you a lot more sales than dragging it out and hemming and hawing and going, well, it's about, it's $10,000 if you really want it. See, those are the two different types of approaches. 5 seconds of boldness is much better than hemming and hawing. Next question is, some people are hard workers and some are smart workers. It means some people spend more time to get the desired output. The smart worker, less time and achieves the same results. Yeah, that's true. Smarter people find systems that work and remember them and use them. Hardworking people, sometimes they just kind of repeat the same thing over and over again. And they don't work as smart, but they have the talent of sticking to the thing and never giving up, perseverance. And those two people both would be successful. neither one's wrong. It's better to be smart, but it's always the most persevering person who wins in the end. It's the tortoise and the hare. The turtle always wins, right? Why do some professionals struggle to complete the task on time? Yeah, you're probably talking about these people that are on your calls and they're committing to do work and they won't get it done. You're probably talking about doctors and dentists and people that are so busy that they don't put the time in to do the things they don't put on their high priority list. So it all comes down to priorities. If a professional is a professional, they're obviously smart and talented, but they don't put the priority in the right place, and so they don't finish. So that's the key, priorities. How to create a long-term plan to achieve results and goals. Write it down. Break it down into SMART goals. I did that back in 1981. I wrote down 19 goals, and within a year, 18 or 17 of them had come to pass. And then 2 years later, the other 2 came to pass. And they were very audacious goals. So I would say this: if you write it down and you look at them every day and you break them apart into the SMART goals, that's the technique, SMART. Those things are easily found on Google, SMART goals. Write them down. What is the question one should ask themselves about time management? Why am I not doing what I know to do? That's the question. Why am I not doing what I know to do? So you have to know your why. Once you know your why, Simon Sinek has a whole book on your why. But if you don't know your why, that's the motivator. You're not motivated if you don't know your why. So you have to know why so you can do the things you need to do. I want to do many things in life, but couldn't get focused. I want to be motivated, but fail even in reading inspiring stories. At the end of the day, all I have left is regret. Is there any book to help? I think you could read the autobiography of Helen Keller if you want to see somebody who had a way to overcome problems. There's a lot of books out there that are great, but that's a good one. She didn't have anything to start with. She finished with everything. Oh yeah, thank you. Bring it up so I can see. Is there any perfect book on better time management and its implementation? The 1 Minute Manager is pretty good. 1 Minute Manager, I think, is a quick study. Is the Bulletproof Coffee the best for laziness? I don't know about that. I don't know. I've drank some special coffees that help my brain power. I've tried that. You know, I like ASEA. That's not available in Pakistan, I don't think. It's a good product. I do take a lot of good vitamins and things for the mind to keep the mind sharp, though. I agree with that. You should feed your mind with good nutrition. How to keep going well, our mind when it's somewhere else. What if your life is distraction and passion is on something else? Well, you need to do what you're comfortable doing, capable of doing, have passion for, ideally. Sometimes that's not available right now, and you have to do what it takes to get to that place. So I would tell you this: do something rather than do nothing. If you can find something that will become your passion, that's going to make you happy. I've been a happy dentist for about 45 years. And I have a lot of friends who retired a lot earlier than I do. I'm still working at 71 and I still, enjoy what I do. But you have to love what you do. So find something you love. Why, which is the more progressive way to work? Either selling a long-term or short-term goal, how to handle a situation in case we face failure to achieve them. There's really a good bunch of articles on that. If you've studied the Pareto effect, which is the 80-20 rule, what you'll see is that the 80% of people tend to not achieve as much as 20%. Those 20% of people have a common quality that has been identified. And here it is. They are able to accept delayed gratification for the results and goals and rewards. The 80% who are not able to achieve as much, they give up, they don't last in a system, it's because they don't have the ability to wait for the result. They cannot delay their gratification. They need constant motivation. They need constant approval. They need constant rewards to make them move forwards, you know? So if you give people small steps to take, they can become successful. But if they have to go over a long period of time before they get a reward, they'll drop out. So the Pareto Principle is true. 80-20 rule is true. Siddique even says it's 90-10. Only 10% of people really succeed. Well, it's all because primarily most people cannot motivate themselves to go all the way through something. How long it takes might be months, weeks, years to get to that end result. And so they drop out. They don't finish the task. They don't finish the job, see it to the end. So what time we got?
Bill, we have only 2 minutes left.
Okay, one more question and we can hang up.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, how much patience involved when we see no light of success in projects? I give up after 10 years. I've got a pattern of giving up every 10 years on something. Now, I don't give up on every project in 10 years, but I have a habit of giving up in 10 years. So I've got a lot of staying power. I can see something fail, or minorly succeed, and I'll still keep trying. I've got a history of doing that. And I can even say I've had good success and I still quit in 10 years because my interest wanes. And so if you look back, you know, I did missions all over the world for 10 years. I taught dentists in one topic for 10 years. I did multi-level network marketing all over the world for 10 years. I did, I built my practice for 10 years. I do a lot of things. And then it seems like I look for something else to do. I stayed a dentist for 45 years, so I never lost that because the rewards of being a dentist were great and I had a good income coming in for it, but I was always looking for something else that I could do, something that would make me a better dentist, a better person, or a better family man. So yeah, that's pretty much the answer I would give you, that you just have to be motivated within to get to that end point. I want to thank you all for attendance, and it's been a fun time for me, and I hope you've learned a little bit. We'll continue again. I think we set up a couple of times next week, maybe Monday, Thursday, 1 o'clock. Is that right? So we'll continue again, and if you'll print all these questions out and I can have them, then I'll look through them and kind of pinpoint.
I will give you the copy of the questions. So you will clear them on Monday
Yeah.
session.
I'll go back through them and look at some of them. And if Siddique has any ideas about what he wants me to cover, I'll do that first, and then we'll do the question and answer just like this. And it's hopefully helpful for you guys to be more effective in what you're doing. And I appreciate, again, all what you do for us. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Bill.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Sleep well, right?
Okay. Okay, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you very much. I'm 1 minute late, and inshallah, we'll talk tomorrow now. Allah Hafiz.